For today's session, going to be primarily using this training site. Um, and so, like previous trainings in the training site, it's pretty like comparable, like as far as functionality, but there might be a few things that you see in the training site that you won't see in the production site. So don't get too caught up in those differences. Everything I'm going to walk through with you today, like you should have access to it. You should be able to do it. Um, and if you don't have access to anything that we're going through, then go ahead and put it in the chat. We'll make a note of that, and then we can follow up, or I'll follow up later on. A campaign. So let me just explain before I kind of get into the nuts and bolts. A campaign is a methodology that you can use to do proactive outreach. And there's different kinds of campaigns. So if you click into this on the left-hand side, this icon that says campaigns and events, what you're going to see on this left-hand side are student campaigns. And so you'll see appointment campaigns, messaging campaigns, and enrollment campaigns. Now you see some other things in here. Like I said, not all of this is going to be, not all of this you'll have access to. Like this side here, we're not really using any of these right now. We're not using events right now, although maybe in the future that could be something we use. And also the survey campaigns, we're not using those at the moment. Really, what we are using are these three right here, the appointment campaigns, messenger campaigns, and enrollment campaigns. And the what a campaign is, it's a methodology for like outreach. So you can outreach to students in different ways. You can and I want you to think about it as like you're inviting students to do something. You're inviting them to make an appointment with you. You're sending them. So messaging campaigns aren't really, they're not really an invitation. Um, they're more of just like transferring information to them in like an automated sort of way. And then we also have enrollment campaigns. An enrollment campaign is sort of an invitation. You're inviting students to enroll, or you're encouraging them to enroll, and you're able to track all that as well. So we're going to start with the appointment campaigns, and we're just going to kind of go through the different aspects of that. But before we get into creating a campaign, you have to sort of think about things a little bit strategically. And this is good to kind of do this, really before you start building your campaign. You want to start thinking about, okay, what is the objective of my campaign? You want to meet with a certain group of students, right? So who are those students? Have you already identified them? And if you have identified them, like, do you have them in like a student list, or are you going to create your list on the fly? What I mean by creating a student list is when you start thinking about an appointment campaign, the purpose of it is to invite students. And so you want to think about, okay, well, who are the students that I want to invite? So even before you start building your campaign, you want to start, and I recommend this as like a best practice, although this is not necessarily the only way you can do things. You don't have to do it this way, but I do encourage you to think about it in terms of this methodology. So I'm actually going to start over in my advanced search because I want to use my filters here to really get my list of students who I want to invite to this campaign. You can get a list of in different ways as well. Like you might have internal lists that you use. Um, you might get a list from a different data source, which is fine. Um, but you want to kind of start with that list of students. So you can go into your advanced search and you can, basically, if I want to just start pulling a list of students, I'm going to just quickly pull in a couple of, I'm going to use my undergraduate degree category. I'm going to use my fall cohort. Um, let's say I'll just go to area of study here and just do, um, just pull in undeclared students. So I'm just getting a quick list here. And once I get my list, oh, okay. Sorry about that. Try this again. Oh, I'm having not good luck here. Okay, let me try. I'm gonna go like this. Okay, so like I said, the training site, the data is not always as current, so apologies for these little missteps. Okay, so this is good. I have a list of students. Um, so once I get my list of, and whatever your list is going to be is fine. Like you, and maybe what you would want to look for is like certain GPA type filters, or maybe you want to look for students that are enrolled in a certain term. Like you have to really think about like what your objective is. So once you get your list of students, I'm going to select all of them. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a student list. So I'm going to add to student list. And I'm just going to call this one my test demo campaign. Okay. So I've created my student list. And just to show you, I just quickly clicked on this link right here. And so here is my test demo list. I really do recommend that you kind of create, and you don't have to necessarily keep it as a student list, but maybe you keep it as a like on a spreadsheet somewhere. Like keeping track of these lists is really it's a good practice to have because then you'll be able to go back in time and look at like historically like 2 semesters ago I ran all these campaigns and this was my list. So you got your student list, so that's kind of the first step. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create availability. So availability, we've looked at different kinds of availability before. Um, what what I'm going to show you is right here. So I kind of created this earlier. So I have these two availabilities that I created, and I've just got them set up. They're just like regular appointment or drop-in availability, except I've chose campaign. What is unique about choosing this campaign button is you're setting up availability for only the students who are in the campaign that you are about to create. And so you are essentially what you're doing is you're like segregating this time, you're dedicating this time to this campaign. And by doing that, you're essentially guaranteeing that you'll have time in your week, your month, whatever, your day, your week that is dedicated specifically for the students in the campaign that you want to create. Um, and so you can see, and I'll just update these times here. Okay. So starting on, and you want your availability for your campaign availability to sort of match the campaign that you're about to set up. So again, like going back to what I said earlier, where you want to be strategic about setting up your campaign. You want to know, okay, my campaign is going to start on this date. It's going to end this list of students I'm going to reach out to. Um, kind of having all these details like in mind before you start your campaign is really important. Okay. Um, so there really there's nothing special about campaign availability other than just making sure that you select um, the campaign feature. All the other things about the campaigns would be the same. You would just go ahead and you know build your availability that way. Once you got your availability set up, then you can start actually building your campaign. So when you go into the campaign area, you can click this add new to start, or you can click on this link right here. So I actually started these ones just for the sake of the demo here. So I'm gonna go into this new student advising campaign just to show you kind of from the beginning. So the first step when you create a new campaign is you're asked to define that campaign. So you give it first you would give it a name, and naming a campaign is you want to you want to name it in a meaningful way. So wherever your office is, so like if you're in the AAC, then you would want to start by naming it AAC. It's also a really good idea to put the term that you're running this campaign just for easier reporting and for finding it. And then you can put the name, whatever description of the campaign. So using a naming convention where you're including your location or your the office you work in. So if you're working in NSM, Student Success Center, ECS, CODA, business, wherever it is you are, um, you can just put your little acronym here. Include the term like I mentioned because that's going to be really helpful for like running reports historically and like comparing campaigns over time, and then just a short description. This information is not visible to students. So I want to just make sure that you understand that this is just for internal viewing, um, but it's not visible to the student. This next box here, instructions or notes for the landing page, this is visible to students. And this is really just a short little statement. It's instructions or notes. So I put in here, please make your new student advising appointment. Just very short and sweet. The care unit I'm using for this demo is advising, but whatever, if you're not in an advising care unit, tutoring or other, that's fine. Just use your appropriate care unit, choose your location, and then choose the service that you want the students to schedule for. So again, like um, for a lot of the advising locations, we have specific workshop services or campaign services. So you can use whatever you want to use for that service. Under the appointment configurations, you've got some settings to choose from here. So the appointment limit for most campaigns, you would only meet with the student one time, but there might be circumstances where you would want a student to meet with you more than once. And if you wanted to do that, you would just change this value. So for this, if you wanted to have the students to be able to make two appointments, then just put two in here. But if it's just a simple, like you just need to meet with them one time and, one and done, then your appointment limit would be one. The appointment length. So how long will that appointment meeting be? So again, you have these, are your options here. 30 minutes is typical, but like you can go longer, you can go shorter. It's just totally up to you. And then the slots per time. So slots per time will determine how many students you meet with at any given time. So at 9 a.m., it I would only be able to meet with one student. If you are looking to do like group appointments or workshops, then this value would be more than one. And we'll come back to this. Um, we'll come back to this in a moment or two. But for right now, I'm going to keep this at one. Um, Reminders. So these staff reminders or student recipients, these are going to be your students. You can definitely make sure these are checked so they get the reminders. And then the scheduling window. So the scheduling window is going to be like basically like when you want the appointments to be scheduled between. So I want these appointments to be scheduled between July 29th and August 16th. The launch date is when you want the actual campaign to like launch. So when you want the welcome message to be sent to students and so the launch date will be whatever you set, but this will be the when your like welcome message goes out and students can start making those appointments between the dates that you select here. So starting, if we launch this today, then starting today, they can start making those appointments between July 29th and August 16th. All right, so that's your general setup. We'll go to the next page here. Okay, so this step here is the recipients. And for I actually did add students to this campaign already, but if you've never added the students, well, when you get to this from a fresh campaign, you'll have to add your students. So what I was talking about earlier with setting up your student list, basically, since you've already created that student list, you can go ahead and just um, use this student list filter and then find your student list and populate it and then hit search. And so this is the list of students you're going to add to the campaign. So I want to go back for a second. You'll notice you have all of those advanced search filters. You can build a campaign on the fly. Like you don't have to do that step I showed you earlier about creating the student list. Like you can use your filters right now and pull a list. The reason I encourage you to create your student list up front is mainly for the like so that you have like that kind of that snapshot, that historical record of like these are the students that I targeted um, back in summer of 2024. And so you will have that student list kind of like in perpetuity almost, where you can then refer back to it. You can, generate reports, export it. And also by creating that student list in advance, it kind of just gives you more time to like refine the list, to like vet it a little bit. So that when you get to this point in building your campaign, you know that, hey, this is my definite target list for this campaign. So you can populate that, you hit search, and then essentially what you need to do is select the students and then hit continue to add them to the campaign. So this step right here, it's basically asking you to review the recipients. Theoretically, like it's unnecessary if you've already done that with that by creating your student list. If you created your student list in advance, you've vetted it, you don't need to do anything here. However, just to show you what you can do is you can remove students. So if you are looking at this list and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I just met with Sophia yesterday. We already discussed all this stuff. I don't need to add her to my campaign. You can select her and then remove. So this just allows you to essentially review the list and remove students if you need to. You can also add more students by clicking right here. Um, and again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but if you create your student list in advance, this step is somewhat superfluous. You don't really need to do it. You can just click continue. Okay. So when you get to this step, which is the step to select staff, what is all the available staff that have campaign availability. So in this example, there are three people that have availability for the service that I selected in the first step, which I don't actually remember what I think it was just like a explore. It doesn't really matter what it was for this example, but whatever the services you selected in that first step, these are the people that have campaign availability. So you can see these three people, so Farifta, Joe, and myself, we have campaign availability. You'll notice here in this example with Joe, he actually has availability for also appointments and drop-ins, but it also does include campaign availability, so he could be part of this campaign as well. So you have the power to select the staff you want to participate in this campaign. So if you're like like a director or a center manager or an advising lead and you're setting up a campaign, it's not all on you. Like you can include other people into your campaign. And this is where like some of that like strategy comes into play where like as a team, you are coming up with campaigns you're going to run and you're determining who's going to like meet with the students. You can set up campaigns like, I can set up a campaign and just meet with my own students, but you can also make this a team effort. Whereas you set up a campaign and multiple people are working that campaign and meeting with students. So it really just depends on your your approach with this. Like you can approach it in different ways. The other thing I want to show you is you can also check this box and you'll notice that we've now added Marina as a person that we can add to the campaign because this is going to allow us to include appointment availabilities. So Marina has availability for this service for appointments. And so if we wanted to add her, we could just add her as well. If we only want to include staff that have campaign availability, then you can just use this, uncheck the box, and then just include the two people who only have campaign availability here. All right. So when you've decided which staff you want to include, then you just click continue. All right. So the next step of this is to create these nudges. So the first nudge you want to add is a welcome message. So the welcome message will be, so you'll have a template that you can use. Um, you can essentially you can edit all of this. You can put in whatever information you want. This is going to be the subject line that the student sees when they get the email. So you can edit this. You have these are called merge tags. So essentially what this will do, it's like it'll personalize the message to the student. So this will say hello, in the example, it's showing you Andrew, right? So hello, Andrew, hello, Daniel, hello, Kathy. So that kind of personalizes it. The rest of this, you can edit this however you want. The one thing that you want to make sure you keep in there is this merge tag, which is the schedule link. So this schedule link looks like this. When the student gets the email, it looks like this on the right-hand side. And this is what they would click on to schedule their appointment. So this schedule link is really important. You want to make sure that you don't delete this. You want to keep that. Um, you can add attachments here. So if there's an attachment you want, you can add that as well. And then basically, if everything looks good for you, then you can just save the welcome message. So the welcome message has been created, but maybe you also want to add additional nudges or communications. So this one here, is the setup is the same. So you have, and also I didn't mention this, you have the option to send email or SMS, which is text. So if you wanted to do like another email, or if you wanted to send like a text nudge, then you can do that as well. So you would just set up the nudge, similarly to the welcome message, but maybe you change up the information a little bit. Maybe you say, the subject is reminder, don't forget to sign up for your appointment. So whatever you want to do here, again, you can edit all of this. Just make sure you keep the schedule link in there. And then you have a couple of options for timing. So you can set this up for a specific date. So like if the welcome message goes out today, July 24th, and my campaign is going to go until August 16th, maybe I want to send a message about halfway through. So maybe roughly August 7th. Or you have a relative date. So a relative date is going to be basically an offset to the number of days after a recipient is added to the campaign. So there's some nuance with this because in most cases, your campaign, you'll have like a list which is essentially static. So you won't necessarily be adding students, although there might be some circumstances where you do add students. It just really depends on the scenario. So again, it just really depends on if if you if your campaign is going to be adding like students like a regular function, like you're going to keep on adding students to it, then using the offset might be the best approach. So let's say you add them to the campaign, they get the welcome message, and then 7 days later they get the nudge. Or you just choose specific date, which is a static date. So again, it really depends on like how you are structuring this, what your objective is, but you do have these options here. So I have a welcome message, I have a nudge. Um, you can add so you can add multiple nudges here. Um, you just again thinking like strategically, like how many of those messages do you want to send? Um, You can set them all up. These are all once you launch the campaign, you can't edit these. So you really need to think about in advance, like, okay, like I have my welcome message, I have a nudge going out on this August 7th. Like once you have to really like finalize that before you launch it. Once you launch it, things become static. You also can do a success message. It's optional. This would just be like once a student makes an appointment, it sends them it's like essentially it's a confirmation type of message. Um, it's a little bit redundant because when they schedule their appointment, they do get a notification, but this is more like specific for the campaign, like thank you for scheduling your appointment. And again, you can edit all of here. One thing that might one example that might be you might use this for is let's say you have an attachment that you want them to look at or to fill out um, after they make their appointment, right? You don't want to send it out before they make the appointment. You just want them to get it once after they made their appointment. So you can do that. You can use this to send that attachment. It's only going to send to the students who make an appointment. So you could just create those if you choose to. Okay, there was a question that came through. What's the difference between a launch date and the welcome message date? Does the email? So um, the launch date and the welcome message are going to be the same date. So this campaign is launching on September 20, or sorry, July 24th. The welcome message goes out that day. The nudges would go out on whatever date that you sent. So there really isn't a difference between launch date and welcome message date. Those will always be the same. The only difference would be back here, you have the scheduling window. So the scheduling window, the appointments don't start until July 29th, but we're launching it today and they get the welcome message today. Okay, so that was a question. Okay, so back to the nudges. Okay, we got all these set up. So the next thing is just the basically verifying all the information. So we're looking at this summary here, making sure this all looks good. Our recipients, our staff, we've got welcome, we've got a nudge, we've got a success message. Everything looks good. You can just hit start campaign. Once you create a campaign, then you'll have this dashboard. And so the dashboard is going to show you how many students are in the campaign, how many students have made appointments within the campaign, how many were attended, summaries created. And so you have these tabs down below here. So um, obviously no one's made appointments yet. Um, but you can see these are all of the students who haven't made appointments yet. Um, and so I just want to show you, I'm actually going to make one of these appointments really quick. So, so the student would get an email, right? And there's that link that they can click on. But also if they log into the platform, like on their computer, then they get this banner here. And this is kind of nudge or encouraging them to make an appointment. So they can click schedule this appointment. And so basically it just takes them directly into this like appointment scheduling page. Um, you can see, so the two staff, you can see them here. If they have a preference, they can choose one of those, or just if they don't care who they meet with, they can just select a day and time that works for their schedule. So this one looks like this must have been one of my available times. So it's going to make it with me, and then they can schedule this. So it makes it really easy for the students to make appointments with a certain person or, a group of, group of people depending on, um, or a person from like a set, right? Depending on what the objective is. Let me go back to my campaign dashboard. And so, okay, so here's that campaign right here. And you can see this little progress bar, not very much going on, like 1%. But when you click into it, just to show you. So so 91 emails got sent out. The emails opened. This metrics, I can't really demo this for you, unfortunately, but like you'll actually be able to see this like in the real site. You can see how many emails were opened, any links were clicked. You can actually see these metrics. And then you can see the one student who made their appointment. Um, you can also, like, as you're managing your campaign over time, you can you can see who has not made their appointment. And if you choose to, you can send appointment requests, which means essentially when you click on this, you are essentially like doing, you're essentially resending them that invite. So again, you can edit all of this here. It's exactly the same as when you create that original message. You're just essentially you're resending it to people. So the nudges will do that like somewhat, like that automates it by creating those nudges. But if you feel like, hey, I created these auto nudges, but I'm still not getting students signing up, you can just come in here and then you can just you can resend this request. So you can have the automated, you can also do the manual. It's really like whatever you need to do. Also, once you've created your campaign, you can you can edit it. And if you needed to add students, then you can do that. You would just go to the recipients here and just click add more recipients. And then so if there's a student you want to add, it's fine. So you can just sorry, I want it to be more specific. So I did a keyword search, so the keyword search is going to give me lots of results. So let me do this. So if there's like a specific student you want to add, then you can search by their CWID and then select them, click continue. Okay, so now we've added that student. So what I need to do is I just need to click through this, click continue. Also, just as since I'm here, let's say you want to add another advisor to your campaign or another staff person, like even after you've launched it, you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add Marina to this just because I realized that I need to add another person, right? So I'm going to add Marina. So I'll click continue again. Okay, so see this banner. Some newly added students in this campaign have not yet received the nudge. So this is basically just telling you, hey, you've added students. So what I'm going to do is send nudge now, which essentially is going to take all of those new students. In this case, there's only one, but if you added multiple, it's going to send them all that welcome message. So send nudge. So again, this pops up for you to just review it and then send to added students. So even though I really emphasized creating that student list, like and vetting it and all that, you can add students like if necessary, like I just showed you. You just go into it, you click edit, and then just do the recipients, and then just add more, and then again search for them, and then just click all the way through like I showed you, and then you can add your students. Also adding the advisor, like if new staff, if you need to. In this case, I checked this box so that I could add Marina to this campaign. So she's now part of this campaign. And if I go back here, so who are the organizers here? So this is the three staff here. All right. So that's all the nuts and bolts on the one-on-one campaigns. What I want to do is show you um, how you would do a group campaign. So with a group campaign, it's pretty much the exact same setup. The major difference here is when you're setting up availabilities for like a workshop campaign, what you want to do is you want to set up your availability a little bit differently. So this availability that I set up here is Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 to 10:30, from 8/6 to 8/8. So if you look at the calendar, I'm basically just making this availability for just these 2 days. Tuesday the 6th and Thursday the 8th. Tuesday, Thursday, 9 to 10:30. So it's a very specific day, well, two very specific days and times. Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 and Thursday from 9 to 10:30. It's a campaign availability, the meeting type, care unit, location, service, all that's the same. And what I also did, just to show you, so I set up another availability. So the date range again, August 7th through August 9th, Wednesday and Friday, 1 o'clock to 2:30. So Wednesday from 1 to 2:30, Friday from 1 to 2:30. So Wednesday is the 7th, and then Friday is the 9th. And then all this stuff is the same campaigns, meeting type, location, care unit, all that's the same. So you set up these availabilities to very specifically to match the day and the time of the workshop that you're going to hold. And then when you go to create your campaign, so everything is pretty much the same. So again, just putting in the location and the term here. Care unit, location, service, the appointment limit. So one appointment, it's a 90-minute appointment, right? So 9 to 10:30, 1 to 2:30, that's 90 minutes. So the appointment length is 90 minutes. The difference I'm doing is I'm allowing up to 10 students to select into those blocks. So at 9 o'clock on the Tuesday, 10 students can schedule into that appointment block. And then the campaign is going to be basically we're starting it on the Tuesday and we're ending it on the Friday. And I'm going to launch it. I mean, could launch it. I'm going to launch it today, but like you can choose a different launch date. But essentially everything is going to be the same here. So you're going to go through. Um, I already have recipients in here, so I'm not going to go through that again. Um, but what I wanted to show you is that Um, so again, we're looking for the specific staff. So we have Axis and Tanya, and we're using their campaign availability because I want these availabilities to match exactly with the day and the time that these workshops are going to be held, these group appointments. Okay. So I didn't do the welcome message on this. Um, but essentially it's all the same. The only thing I really want to reiterate is when you're creating a group appointment or a workshop, you have to be, I think, a little bit more detailed with the message that you send to students because you want to be really clear about this is a workshop, it's a group appointment. Um, it's going to be 90 minutes long. It's going to be in this location. Um, so you really want to create your message and really be very detailed with all of that information. Schedule link, keep it in there. And then same thing with the nudge. So I would just do, let's say we're going to launch it and maybe we do the nudge on the first. Again, with this, the information you include here, be like I would over communicate, like put in, again, this is a workshop. The purpose of the workshop is XYZ. The workshop times that reminds me. When you're creating these nudges, because there's going to be multiple times, days and times, include all of that. So the workshop times that are available are Tuesday, August 6th from 9 to 10:30. Wednesday, August 7th from 1 to 2:30. Thursday, August 8th from not, just like do bullet points so that the students know exactly the available times, the location, and all of that. So you can do your success message again. I'm just going to skip through that. And I'm going to launch this because what I want to show you. So now when a student goes, they get the email or they log into TitanNet, they have this banner, they can click into it and see like the available times. Tuesday 9 to 10:30, Wednesday 1 to 2:30, Thursday 9 to 10:30. So we're filtering these students in to these very specific days and times that we're going to do this workshop. And this workshop is 1 week. It's Tuesday through Friday. These times you can see here. If a student, and again, this is all going to be dependent on like how you set it up, but if there's a student that wants to do virtual, then they can select that, and these are the virtual workshops. If they prefer to do in person, these are the in-person workshops. So, or if they don't care, they can just look here. But, and this is a little bit tricky. If they click on this time, they've got to pay attention to the fact that this is going to be a virtual online workshop. But the details are in here, right? So there's a Zoom link in here. Um, it says virtual here. So, I mean, hopefully they see all that. Um, but in your message, it would be like you would maybe want to be clear about like these times are online, these times are in person, um, so the student sees all that information. Alrighty. I want to pause and just see if there's any questions that came through. I don't see anything in the chat, but if anyone has any questions, um, feel free to put those in. Okay. All right. I don't see any questions, so that's okay. If anything comes up, feel free to put it in the chat. Um, okay. We're gonna move on to messaging campaigns. A messaging campaign is essentially it's just you're automating messages to get sent out to students. So just like your appointment campaigns, it's a good practice to put in, your department, your location, and the term with with the with these messaging campaigns. What you can do is you can create a tracking URL. And so the tracking URL, it's going to be like let's say let's say you want students to go to this particular website, just as an example hypothetical. You could put in whatever web link you want here, and then this display value, sorry, websites. Okay. This display value, it's like a basically it's a hyperlink. When you want to launch this campaign, so let's say we can launch it today. So it's really a basic setup. You've got your name, the and you don't have to do a URL, by the way. It's just something you can utilize, but it's not required. Um, click continue. So the recipients here. So again, same thing, same would apply with the messaging campaigns. If you build out your student list, um, you build out your student list in advance, then you can just utilize that. Or if you want to build it on the fly, again, you can just use um, your advanced search filters to just build it out on the fly here. Um, so I can just, I'll take these students here. Okay. So essentially this is all the same. You just, it says add welcome message, but basically, um, it's not really a welcome message. It's just, it's whatever, it's the message you want to send. So, um, you, you know, this is where you would put in your message. This shows you what the student sees. Um, so that tracking link that I did on that first step, this is what that is right here. And the display value is what you see right here. So, I mean, again, um, this is the body of the message. Um, I mean, essentially, you just create the content. Again, you can personalize it. Um, the tracking link, if you created that, then you would want to keep that there. Um, oh, the subject, students see this. Um, this would be their email subject. Um, you can add attachments here. And then it's the same thing. You can just add additional messages that you want students to get. So you can just add a nudge. Same functionality here. You can have it go on a specific date or a relative date. Um, so thinking strategically, like if there's like information you want to like push out to students, like throughout the course of the semester or a period of time, you can essentially set all this up in advance, create your list of students. Maybe this is like you just want to send out periodic emails to students as you're ramping up towards, the advising period or the enrollment period or registration, or you want to send out messages to students who are maybe having academic difficulty with like resources. Like you can just set all these up in advance and time them. Just time them um, when you want them to go out to students. And you can create really as many of these as you need. And this basically you just review this, and then whenever you're ready, just start campaign, and it'll just automate. And then what you get with these is again, I can't really show you. Well, maybe. just jumping over to this. Oh shoot, I got logged out. Sorry, let me log in really quick. I'm just logging into the live site because maybe I can show you. Yeah, so basically this was a little small population, but you can see like how many messages got sent out. Oh, and yeah, these are SMS. So I didn't mention that, but like you can when you're setting that up, you can choose whether it's email or SMS here. So yeah, it just tracks um, the messages that went out and who is in the campaign. Um, so are there any questions about, so messaging campaigns, just, yeah, really helpful to kind of automate some like communications. Um, Let me switch over to the enrollment campaigns next. So an enrollment campaign is going to be essentially like encouraging students to enroll. And um, so for these, obviously like timing, you wouldn't necessarily run an enrollment campaign until like until it's like time to enroll. Um, but to set it up, just click add new. Oh, sorry, let me go back for a second. Sorry, keep doing this. Okay. So you have these filters here. I just was looking to see if I had done anything. Okay, add there. Sorry. Okay. So again, name it. So I'm calling this one fall 24 because that's going to be the enrollment term that I'm targeting. Um, so desired enrollment term, fall 24. The tracking URL and the tracking value. Um, so this is the same kind of thing as the message campaign. However, these ones, they they're required for this. So I'm not really sure what is the ideal website to put in here, to be honest with you. I don't know if there's maybe there's like a certain web page that you have in like a web page that gives them like information about enrollment. I'm not sure, but you have to go ahead and include this link and then the display value, and then the timing. So um, again, you want to really think about like what what makes sense for like your objective, right? So if you're like launching this one, you could launch this one, let's say at the end of the semester, and you're trying to target students who haven't enrolled for um, the upcoming term. Um, you can go through the summer. I mean, there's lots of different ways. You just have to think about strategically, like what is your objective, what makes sense, to do that. So again, we can start it today, go through the August 16th. Oops. Oh, okay. So here you select your population. What it does for you though is it automatically populates this enrollment history filter with the enrollment terms not in fall 2024. So it's automatically going to look for students who are not enrolled in whichever term you identified in that first step. So, I mean, in the training site, we don't have fall 24 enrollments yet, I think. So I'm just going to search anyways. We'll just select these students here. And I mean, you're seeing a pattern here with these nudges, the welcome message. So the welcome message, so this one, the objective is that you want students to enroll, right? So the messaging should sort of like support that. Um, you can, whatever language you think is appropriate or however you want to like phrase that, but ultimately the messaging you're sending is like, hey, we want you to enroll for the next upcoming semester. If there's any support you need, we're here to support you. Like that kind of messaging is what you would sort of be looking at. You can again personalizing it, the tracking link, I would just keep it in there. You can add attachments like those other examples. And then again, with this one, you have the ability to add nudges as well. You could do the success message. The success message is optional, but that's available as well. And then when you start this campaign, I'm gonna jump over here. I wonder if I can see any over here. Okay, great. So there's definitely been some enrollment campaigns. So this one, so this is a great example. I mean, there were 16 students in this campaign, and it's showing us that 94% actually did enroll. So once you launch that, sorry, I'm going to click back here for a second. So when you launch your campaign, it's launched, then you get these metrics, right? So this is what it looks like is okay, so there were 16 emails that got sent and delivered. There were 5 that were opened, 6 links that were clicked. Um, there were 16 SMS messages that were sent. And you can actually see so you can see on June 8th, and then there was like a +1 nudge that got sent. And again, you can see those students who enrolled. You can see the students who didn't enroll. And then also the courses enrolled in. So that's it's pretty cool that you can see that information there. Um, oh, and it looks like this link here is what this was. I think Farifta created this one. I think she used like a screen step guide. Um, so that might be an option to use. Um, but this is a really great way to encourage enrollment, to track students who haven't enrolled, because then at the end of your campaign, you'll see like, hey, this one student didn't enroll. And then you can run reports, you can get a list, you can do other kinds of outreach. It's just like a really helpful way to like track and to manage like student enrollment. So um, any questions? There's a few other things I want to review today before we close, but I just want to see like any questions on appointments, campaigns, the one-on-one, the workshops, the messaging, the enrollment, anything that people have questions about. Okay, let's see. So there is a question that came through. Do emails from messaging campaigns or welcome message, do they show up? Okay, so the emails do not show up in the history. Um, but what you will see is if you look on the student's profile, hold on, sorry. I gotta find this. Let me see if this will work. What you should see is, oh, why are we not seeing that? So this area here should show us like the active campaigns the student is in. Um, for some reason it's not displaying that. Yeah, so the only yeah, I'm not sure why it's not displaying it here. I might have to look into this to see why it's not displaying. But theoretically, this like on the student profile, you should see the active appointment campaigns for the student. And that would be like how you could tell if they're in a campaign or not. But I don't see it's not displaying here, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure why. Um, I'll look. I'll follow. I'll try to follow up on that. Another question that came through: could this be used to highlight upcoming events within our college? Okay, so the question about events. There is functionality which we haven't really enabled yet that is different from campaigns. So we've just reviewed appointment campaigns, messaging campaigns, and enrollment campaigns. But there is this functionality which, like I said, it hasn't really been rolled out across the campus yet. And in fact, it's super new. Like I think it just got like released within the last couple of weeks. And I really haven't even spent much time exploring it. I did start testing it a little bit today, but so for the question, Amir, about um, highlighting events, I'll say the answer is yes. It would probably be best to use this functionality. So let me kind of work on um, rolling this out, and then we can release this so people can use events. I'll tell you basically the way it works is it works very similarly to campaigns. You have to have a list of students, but then it allows students to RSVP. And so you can basically like target a big group of students and then you'll get RSVPs for your event. So um yeah, let me work on like I said, I haven't really explored it too much yet. But I'll try to get going on that and then we can release that one to the campus. Another question is the SMS basically yes, SMS is sending them a text message, and it goes to whatever phone number we have. So the text messages always go to the student's preferred cell phone. Would you please explain what the tracking URL and tracking URL display value? So the tracking URL is any website you want the student to go to. And the display value is what it looks like when you create the campaign. So, so for like the messaging campaign, this is the tracking URL, this math website, and this is what the student sees. So in the email that they get, this is what they see. Click here for math department website, and it takes them to that. It takes them to this website that I hyperlinked. So it really is just like if you have like a specific link or website you want students to go to, then when you set up the first step to define the campaign, this is your tracking URL, and then this is what the student sees. Hope I answered that. Okay, I think I answered that. Um, all right. Any other questions? Um, okay, a couple other things I want to just quickly review is I'm going to come over to the live site for this is reporting for campaigns. There is a specific report that you can run for campaigns. So when you go into the reporting area, it's this appointment campaign report. And it's pretty similar to other reports. You have to build it out the first time. So I think really the easiest way to run this report is just by like starting with the campaign name and then just searching for the name. So so this is a really good example of naming campaigns where you have the the college or the advising center, the term. Um, these are probably the initials of the individual who was running the campaign, and then the campaign. So so this is like just the simplest way to run this report is just by the campaign name. And then what you'll see in the report is obviously the list of students. And then I'm just scrolling really quickly because what I want to show you is, so these columns here has appointment scheduled. You see yes, yes, and then no. So this means that this student was part of the campaign, but they didn't make an appointment. And so you can use this report. I mean, we can obviously like export this and like just do different, we can look at the data in different ways, but I just want to highlight this column. And so what you could do is you could like add a filter here. So has scheduled appointment false. So these students here, all they were in the campaign, but they never made an appointment. So this is just what I mean. You can see this information if you look at the campaign in that like in this in this area here, you have this tab, but you can also use a report and then you can export that report and then do different things with it. So that's just yeah, very quick and easy way to get a good report on campaigns. The other thing that I want to just show you, and this is we're getting into a little bit more like advanced uh, strategy for campaigns, is a tracking sheet. I'm going to send this to Farifta and Marina and Kathy to kind of share with the community, but I want to share it with this group as just like a way to think about how campaigns come together. So this this template is meant to be more like universal, like university wide, but it can just be used within a smaller unit, right? It could just be used within a single advising department or some other campus resource center to track the kinds of campaigns that you're running. So in this example, there's kind of categories of campaigns that you could run. These are not like absolute, they're not finite, like they're just like honestly, I stole this from my previous institution. And so it can be modified in any number of ways. But basically, like if there's different kinds of campaigns that you run, then you can categorize them and color code them if that's helpful or not. Again, this could just be you could remove this column completely. Campaign name. What are the filters that you use to get your list? How many students are you going to include in your campaign? What's your approach? So, and I have these like little notes for all these is like, how did you connect with your target population? What's the launch date? Um, how many direct interventions did you have? And then this column here actually is a formula, so it would get pre-populated with I think if you do I think it's a formula with these two columns. Yeah. So so when you have these two columns populated, then you get a response rate here. And then just note and reflection. So this is just like something that can be used as a tool to sort of help organize and coordinate within your office, or again within the larger university if leadership decides to do it that way. Um, of like what campaigns are you running, what kind of success are you seeing, and if you take the time to kind of compile to keep track of this and compile them, then over time you get like a really good historical record that you can look back on and kind of evaluate like what worked, what didn't work, um, what kind of campaigns did we run in the past, maybe try to identify different kinds of gaps, also categorizing different campaigns. Um, again, these are just like suggested categories, but by all means, you should just do what makes sense in your offices there. Um, again, yeah, these are just kind of like descriptions of the different kinds of campaigns that you could run. Um, so I'll make sure that gets sent out so that if people want to use this kind of as like a tracker to start like organizing campaigns and maybe maybe adding a column for campaign type because I think when I created this originally there was only appointment campaigns and now there's messaging and enrollment, so you could add that column there. But I wanted to share that in case people that might be beneficial. Um, but I think that's pretty much everything.